Hello and welcome to Friday livestream with Con. It's me, it's Grace with Mr. Channel. Good to see you all. We're gonna talk about cameras and lenses and all sorts of Nikon things as well as non-Nikon things today. I want to hear from you. If you have any questions, if you need any advice on any equipment or any photography, do ask me a question and put QQQ in front of the question. That just helps me to see it through the other comments as well. My name is Konstantin. I've been doing these live streams solo for quite some time now, so that hasn't changed. What I can tell you that's changed is you in the chat, who I'm happy to see. So let's say hello to Roy, who's been here first. We've got John Hughes, David Mascoro, Ray Powell, Len Oshman, David Ramsam, Andy Hill, Terry Allen, Nick Harrison, Dave Walker, John Jensen, Tadeusz, David Whiteside, Eric Lowry, Neil Brasher. Thank you all for joining us today. John Hughes, William Rickford, Albert Jimenez, Ian White. You're all here. Hello, Chase. How you doing? Okay, questions are starting to come up. But first of all, what I'm going to say to you that there's a bank holiday in the UK, so that means that we're going to have an extra Monday off. So whoop whoop to us. You know, so hopefully we're going to get some nice weather, going to get out, take some pictures, maybe even go to the seaside, who knows. What I can tell you that Grace Westminster here, we're doing, as we all other dealers do, we do this bank holiday weekend sale. So we have 5% off Voigtlander lenses. That's on our website. Have a look at that. So you can even pre-order the new 75 1.5 lens with 5% off, which is quite nice to have. We have 10% off second-hand items as well, so up to £200. Have a look at as well. And I think there's a special deal on Z50 as well, which is even lower than Nikon's current summer savings offering. So have a look at that. Nikon the magazine is running £20 off this weekend as well for digital subscription, so it's £29 instead of $49. So that gives you access to all the digital magazines that have been published, so over close to 100 of those, as well as new things. What I can tell you as well, and I can't share it fully, but Becky, you know Becky, who is a second half of this channel, who is not usually here on Fridays, but she's working on Nikon Owner for something. You know, they're working on something. I can't announce it. I'd rather her announcing all this. But being a part of that, if you are subscribed to Nikon Owner magazine and you want to join whatever they're doing together, you'll get discounts of those as well. So that might be worth doing during the magazine while you're here at the discount. Hello, Seth. Hello. Oh, long time. Good to see you. You know what? I want to ask you about GFX 102 question. I saw the video the other day, and apparently it's really good for videography. I know you're not doing much videography, but apparently it's really good for that. So if you have any thoughts on this, do let me know in the comments below. Let's see who else is here. So we've got Richard as well joining us. Koffee Fund is open. If you haven't given this stream like, please do, because that helps the channel quite a bit. And it also helps this stream to be brought to more people who are browsing the internet and they simply don't know what to do right now. You know, they want to click on something. It's like I spend hours on Netflix trying to choose something to watch, and it's very difficult. It's very difficult. I can tell you that. Let's have a look at your questions. So let's start with the first question that we have here. Let's see. Eric Lowry says, how individual are sensors? I see comments like, I prefer dynamic range of D610 to the D700, or the sensor to the Z8 is better than D850 as it captures color the way I like it. Well, they're different sensors, first of all, like different models, and they are sensors that we have basically the same sensor, but there's slight variations from model 1 to model 2. So things to like your question about D700 and D610. So we're talking about, first of all, two different time production wise. So it's 12 megapixels on D700 versus 24 megapixels on D610. So that's one thing. And obviously they all will have slightly different color science to that as well. Noise performance, dynamic range, etc. So technically D610 is a better sensor if you look at dynamic range, because it can capture more stops of line. So if you're a landscape photographer you'll benefit from this. You will also benefit from a higher resolution sensor as well that will produce the image that has more pixels in it. So, you know, 24 megapixels, I think is 6,000 pixels wide, more or less close to that, you know, and 12 megapixels, I think it's about 4,000 pixels. Obviously, you can Google all those and get exact figures, but that allows you to print more or crop more depending on your needs. Obviously, the D600 sensor came out much later. So I think it's about at least 5 years later than D700. However, color reproduction is a different thing. And D700, the reason why people love it, first of all, it was one of the first full-frame cameras that Nikon released. So the D3 came out and D700 came out, and it was a mini D3, and it was cheaper than D3. Therefore, you know, a lot of people bought that based on this because not many people would buy a big chunky camera for their travel setup. So D700 was definitely not only camera for professional photographers, including, let's say, sports and action photographers as well as events, but also for keen enthusiasts with the budget that allows for this. And I can tell you that when I switched from D300 to D700, so from DX sensor to D full frame sensor, I never looked back. And that's why D700 has this special place in my heart, you know, so that's what it is. So a lot of people like the color reproduction of the sensors. Going even earlier, we had CCD type sensors on cameras like D200, D2X, and then we switched to CMOS sensors, which are all sensors nowadays. So again, CCD sensors, a lot of people have love for them because they think that the color production is much nicer, especially on the skin tones and things like this. So that's kind of rough explanation of this. Then we have variations of sensor, like D600 and D610 technically have the same sensor, but they call it slightly differently because it's a modification of the same sensor. The same we've seen in lots of, let's say, 24 megapixel mirrorless cameras that Nikon released, you know, in the last 5 years. The 24 megapixel sensor is modification more or less of the same thing. Z8 and Z9 technically will have the same sensor. We call it the same sensor to simplify it. Obviously, there's slight modification that happened there, but overall, it's based on the same let's say sensor that comes from, let's say, shelf. Sony manufacturers, Nikon designs it, so Sony manufactures the sensor according to Nikon specifications and design. So hopefully that answers your question. I can rumble more about those things, but our time is limited. So let's move on to another question. Let's see what people say in the chat. So as I need a stand kick, psychic. I don't know. I'm thinking about this. We have a few people started to work at Great Westminster for quite some time, so I'm thinking I might bring a pundit, you know, or maybe a my replacement. Who knows, you know? So, but I think it's worth having another person in for sure. So, you know, just on the days where Becky's not here, you know, but we still shoot with Becky, which is very important. So she's saying hi to you all. Okay, so we got people from all over the world. Again, I want to know where you're from, where you're watching from. If you're watching this live stream after the fact, so please leave your questions in the comments below. Please tell me where you're calling from, where you're watching from in the comments under this video as well. I want to know really, because it's always good to have this huge international viewer base. Okay, next question. Let's have a look. Eric Laurie is saying, some people report the high megapixel cameras are less forgiving of our mistakes. Nail not focus, freeze noction than low megapixel ones. Is that true? Well, Eric, again, it's one of the things that we would say back in the day. Again, good example of this is we had D700. And then it's 12 megapixel camera. And then boom, we suddenly got D800 in with 36 megapixel sensor. And D800, parts of this had a huge mirror, so that goes up and down in the DSLR design, you know. So you see the image when you press the shutter button, take the shot, the mirror goes up. The image is being taken, shutter goes down, mirror slaps down. So there's a lot of internal vibration was happening. Plus, adding the autofocus wasn't as fast. All that would create all sorts of issues for people who were spoiled with low-resolution cameras, let's be honest. So we had this, quite a few customers back in the day. You know, like I was working on the shop floor, so I dealt a lot with it on technical support back in the day. So person comes in saying, well, I can take a good portrait at 30th of a second on D700 and I get a motion blur on D800. So that's one of the reasons why I came there. Then what we said is actually, let's increase your, let's shrink the D800 image to D700 side and see what it looks like. Do you see that shake? Well, not anymore really. And let's enlarge the image, G700 image, to the resolution of D800. Do you start to see those limitations of the camera and a bit of a camera shake? Yes, you can. So that's kind of things like this. But also what we need to know is that they improved all this. So they'll say D810 was a huge improvement over D800 in terms of internal shake. So they kind of putted that mirror so it wouldn't slap that loud, you know, so that won't create internal vibration and things like this. But let's say my rule for D800 would be don't shoot below 1/25th of a second, just full stop. You know, while now with mirrorless cameras where you don't have moving mirror and let's say if you shoot with electronic shots or even the cameras that don't have mechanical shots like Z8, Z9, there's not much moving parts in there. So it really depends on your steady hands, really, how steady you are. So if you're a boxer, your hands are probably not that steady, but you know, like your mileage can vary. So you know, some people can get away shooting, let's say, tenths of a second and still get a sharp shots. Some people need to shoot at 1/25th. But you know, my advice was back in the day saying like, shoot your digital camera how you should film. That should give you a good idea. So you know, you like shooting at tenths of a second. You know, that's you know. Like now you can because you got vibration reduction in the sensor. Back in the day you can't. So again, it's the question that was more important in the past than it is now, I would say. You know, but obviously resolution makes a lot of difference and definitely starts to show limitations of the lens. Maybe your old lens can't resolve the resolution of the sensor that much. So all those things, the higher resolution you go, you may want to consider. So that's the answer. Today, to that question, Paul Higginson is asking, hi Con, how do you see any potential Z7 Mark III fit into the lineup now that Z8 is so heavily discounted from what was already a really good price point? Yeah, Z8 is currently on sale. If you buy the kit, I think it's £630 saving with 24 to 124 kit. I think it's about £400 saving if you buy in body only. So it's a great time to buy. We're not going to see Z8 Mark II anytime soon, let's be honest. So it will last you for a good few years before the new model is out. Where do I think Z7 Mark III should be? I think it should be a 60 megapixel sensor or higher. This is my thinking because I apply it's my logic. You know, I think we have too many cameras with 45 megapixels. There's no point of having Z7 Mark III with the same Z8, Z9 sensor. Release it, make it 60 megapixels or plus. You know, slow it down. It doesn't need to be as fast as other cameras. You can keep the autofocus, but you don't need a higher frame rate and things like this. You know, again, price-wise, if you don't have electronic shots of Z8 and Z9, it's actually cheaper to produce mechanical shots. So that's according to people like Tom Hogan. I don't really know if that's true or not, but yeah, apparently there's a cost of just having electronic shots. So that's my thinking. And obviously Z6 Mark III, depending where it's at, whatever resolution it's at, then we start to see, yeah. I personally think that we have 45 megapixels Z8, Z9, and we're going to have lower res Z6 III, which is very fast, very good in low light. And then we have a landscape camera, let's say studio camera, Z7 Mark III, which is slower, but designed for kind of advertising, marketers, landscape photographers, yada, 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 with a 60 megapixel sensor. Those are my thoughts. Am I right or am I wrong? Well, the time will tell. I personally think they shouldn't discontinue Z7 Mark III. I think they should give a different offering from other cameras, because if you get more or less the same offering but just slightly different price, for me personally, it won't work. So Seth is saying, on GFX 102, the question I asked him, yeah, when the first GFX 100 was announced, we knew it didn't have IBIS. People wouldn't be able to handle it, but thankfully great stability. Yeah, I mean, IBIS on GFX 100S is pretty good as well, yeah. It's the video that I'm excited about. Speaking of video, Blackmagic is doing a sale on their full frame 6K camera. I think it's $1,600 at other RAM right now instead of $2,600, $1,000 saving. If you ever thought of doing video but getting into cinema side of things, this is incredible value. Camera doesn't know how to focus. It will need to be rigged up. You will need to learn how to use this camera. Battery life is awful, but the image quality on that camera is absolutely fantastic. Open gate at 6K, incredible. Again, Nikon, we need to have open gate. I would say for, yeah, $1,600, this camera for that type of thing, if video quality, the image quality is important to you, that's definitely a way to do it. But if you're more of a content creator and you need those focus all the time, just get a Nikon camera Z8 and RAW. Whew, you know, incredible. That's that. Let's see. I want to see more questions. Let's have a look. What are your questions? I want to answer them. All right, let's see. Tony is really loving the D810 that he bought recently. That's fantastic. Chase is saying you can't stop down as much on higher resolution. Sensor diffraction becomes a problem. Yeah, exactly. We can talk about this so much. There's so many things that I haven't even mentioned. Absolutely. Diffraction is one of them. Yeah, even on D800, diffraction was a problem. On your Z8, diffraction is a problem. So, you know, again, will you see a difference? No. If you pixel peeping, yes. For general image, it really depends what you do. That's kind of my point comes from. If you're doing street photography on 100 megapixel sensor, I don't think you care about diffraction. Let's be honest, you know. So it's about the moment. But if you're studio landscape art photographer, that's where you want to extract the best possible quality out of your camera. That's a different story there. Okay, Ian White is asking, sensor cleaning place in London, fixation at Vauxhall. 5 minutes walk from Vauxhall Station. It's Victoria Line. It's not a long walk from Victoria or Waterloo. It's a bus ride. As far as I know, if they're not too busy, they can do it while you wait. So normally you'll drop off their camera, grab a coffee somewhere else, come back in like 40 minutes. Your camera will be ready. But obviously, give them a call in advance. Make sure they're not too busy for that. John Hughes says, I did go on a Nikon workshop when I got my D800E, and they said the slowest handheld speed for D800E was 500th of a second. I have used it a lot slower. Yeah, that's the thing. I've got D800E myself, my own earned money, brand new from Nikon. Got a sweet deal on that as well. And again, yeah, I'm a studio guy. So, well, at the time I was a studio guy. So D800E was the camera for me, not the standard version. And again, we're talking probably about 3% difference in terms of actual image quality, you know, the sharpness of the image, you know, but you know, I spent that extra £200-300 just to buy D800E. And again, it's the camera that has a place in my heart. Absolutely. All right, let's see. Let's have more topics. Actually, I'm having my first coffee today, so let me just gulp a few. Give us a like as well. That would be absolutely useful. Hello, Ronald. My name is Khan. It's also some people, yeah. Ronald made a comment and say thanks, Khan, under one of the videos, and obviously it's also correct, people. So don't get upset. I can be called anything. I know it's all done with a good intention. Good to see you, Ronald. Long time. You're based in LA, right? So if I'm in LA next time, I'll say hi. So didn't have much time this time. All right. Roy Biggs says shutter speed is determined by the lens more than the camera. But I agree. Yeah, that's another thing. Like one of the things that people will say should double the focal distance. Set your shutter speed. So if you're shooting at, let's say, with 50mm lens, double the focal distance. That should give you a shutter speed. So it's 100th of a second. Yada yada yada. So if you're shooting with 400mm, you should shoot about 800 or 1000th of a second. You know, so that's the idea behind it. There's lots of those little rules that people used back in the day. Obviously, now we have vibration reduction on the lenses, on the cameras, so basically built into the sensor. So all those things make our life a lot easier. That's the thing. I mean, talking about video again, yeah. Nikon ZF, I mean, okay, is it like you know, for the price, this camera for video is fantastic. Yes, it's a vintage style design, but you know, focus tracking, follow focus, things like this work amazingly well. You got your flat profile, you know, you can do 10-bit H.265, things like this, you know, incredible. And you just slap a microphone on it, you know, it does the job. It's perfect travel video camera if you want to. So, let's see. Albert Jimenez replies to Roy, and I'm very fascinated as he's thinking of getting a 4x5 field camera with a focus plane shutter, so I can use projection lenses on large format. Do you have any other suggestions? Yeah, definitely, Roy. If you have any suggestions, that's going to be quite cool. I should use my 4x5 large format camera more often. I haven't finished my first pack, so definitely once I get a bit more time. Then I need to shoot more. I need to develop more. Sanonimo says the BMC PC, so it's Blackmagic Cinema Pocket Camera, have a Canon EF mount. It would be cool if Red came out with a similar price size cinema camera with Z mounts in the near future. I think that Red will stick to the box size, box shaped cameras, and I think Nikon will have the Z Red line, which is going to be more of a BMPC style, yada yada yada. So, but let's see. That's I think it's definitely the question is when. I am definitely looking forward to see what comes out of that, because my passion kind of shifts a little bit more towards cinematography, videography nowadays. But again, I'm not anywhere near where I can share my results with you. But I am learning a lot nowadays, and I'm planning a few small projects that I want to do in the future for that. So yeah, Nikon choosing 45 megapixel was a great compromise. Yep, I agree with that. Tony Hedge is asking, Nikon FM or FE? Well, FM is fully mechanical. FE should give you aperture priority mode. So to be honest with you, for purists, if you don't mind having external light meter or use your phone, then I would personally go for FM. But again, if you want an aperture priority, then get Nikon FE. Just kind of simplifies your, shooting. That's what it is. It really depends, because the different type of people come into film photography. There's some people who would buy their disposable cameras. They would shoot in the dark with it, the images will come out crap, and that's their whole experience with film photography. They will never come back because the first experience is bad. And there's another type of people who obviously want to learn, and they come from digital cameras and they want to learn, obviously, people who shot film before. So that kind of people, they tend to kind of move towards as much manual as possible. It's also in a way of future-proofing your system, because if electronics go bad, then those things can't be fixed. So as long as the camera can use fully manually, there's a high chance of those cameras being serviced. So that's what it is. I shot aperture priority a lot of time on my cameras, and now I shoot with manual cameras, and I have my little Sekonic, the L358, L368, whatever L308, the one of those. And yeah, if I need to, let's say, measure the scene, I can just quickly get the reading, So as long as you shoot on the same lighting conditions, let's say outdoors, you generally would stick to that. You go to the shade, you stop it down by 2 stop. That generally kind of gives you a good idea. But both cameras are fantastic. They look pretty much identical. You can't go wrong with that. David Rank, when your photographer, says, I see a D800 and Fujifilm S5 Pro in my future. Good setup. So S5 Pro is the camera that's based on D200 design. So made by Fuji, had the Nikon mount, as far as I remember, but had different sensor from D200. So a lot of people bought that, again, very niche product. So people who really would spend more time on researching their sensors. So but yeah, it's a fantastic camera. Again, D800 is beautiful. I wouldn't use D800 as much for events per se, because autofocus can struggle, and again, sometimes it's not precise, so you need to get AFS lens to improve your autofocus on D800, because AFD type lenses, they're not as precise in my opinion, but overall fantastic image quality. Roy had 8x10 from Toyo Japan. Oof. Okay, well, let me get on with 4x5 maybe. I know it's a lot, like the larger format. Like getting into large format film photography, it's like a slippery slope. So like they're not big enough. You go, okay, I go 6x5, then 6x7, 6x9, then 4x5, then 8x10, yada yada yada, and then you find yourself shooting 16x20 and using projector lenses and all sorts of things. Not cheap, but very rewarding, I think. All right, Nigel Kenneth is asking, hi Con, have you had a chance to do a full review of Nikon Z7III yet, and did new white lens 75 1.5? 28-400 video has been shot. It's been the edit is done. I'm looking at hopefully next week. So there's a couple of videos I have lined up before that, but on this one I still need to do the audio bit. So but the video edit has been done. So yeah, stay tuned. I would say within 7 to 10 days. Thank you very much, Albert. I appreciate that. That helps my coffee. Give the stream a like if you can. That would be really, really useful. If you appreciate it. If you don't appreciate it, that's fine. That's fine. But this pressing the button helps a lot, just so you know. Help me so I can help you. Okay. Dave Brown is saying, hi Con, I've just recently upgraded to Z8 from D810. Only downside was that I discovered an issue with my Tamron 100-400 lens. 7 kept flashing error. Is this no problem? I don't have experience with Tamron lens, I'm afraid, Dave. My Tamron lenses experiences are with the Z-mount lenses, and they work absolutely fine. So unfortunately, I can't answer your question. Grace always missed as a shop. We didn't sell Tamron or Sigma f-mount lenses till about last year. Well, we still don't sell Tamron f-mount lenses. So unfortunately, I can't answer that question. But I would just check online on the forums, because if that's a common issue, it would come up. And I would also maybe speak to Tamron, if possible, give them a call and see if there's some sort of firmware they can do in there, you know, with their lenses. But also update your firmware as well to the latest, see what happens. All right. Let's see what's next. Jose Neto is saying, just bought my Nikon Z8 with 24-120 kit. Really excited to explore the Nikon system. What do you suggest for great ultra wide angle lens? 14-24, 14-30. Best regards from Brazil. I would say that ultimate image quality 14-24 is good, but it's big and heavy, and the more expensive one 14-30 does a lot that 14-24 do. So I would say maybe 90% of, you know, a lot of people say, oh, 99. No, it's 90%. 14-24 is a better lens, let's be honest. It's just the way the internet works is if people say, no, it's 14-30 does it, you know, it's exactly the same as 14-20. It's not, let's be honest. But I would say it's 14-30 is above average performer. I'll tell you that. So it performs much better than, let's say, 16-35 or 4 that Nikon had. So, so overall, if you travel, it's smaller, lighter, you know, it's less expensive. So overall, I would just look at your budget more than anything else. I would look into, let's say, if wide angle photography is your kind of bread and butter, then invest more. If it's an occasional way of shooting, then, you know, you can have a, you know, I would just get a cheaper lens, because I would invest in whatever, like I say, if you're shooting events, get 24-72.8. That's going to be your workhorse, you know, and then you can get a longer lens, or you can get ultra wide angle lens to compensate for situations where you occasionally need to shoot something like this. All right, who is next? Tony Hedges says, would you be interested in a film camera with a Z-mount? I would be, but I would, you know, I would say Nikon will have to release their new lenses, because I think the point of F-mount is that Nikon released those beautiful lenses for their cameras. And as soon as you release Z-mount lens film camera, like, yes, you're gonna, like, if you want to keep it point and shoot way, yes, you can put Nikon lenses, Z lenses on it. I wouldn't like the aesthetics of it. For me, film photography is kind of coming back to the roots of photography, you know, shooting manually, you know, using manual focus glass or manual focus overall. You know, I don't really like nowadays to use autofocus film cameras, just because it's just, you know, my enjoyment of this. But again, like, if they release a film camera with that mount that takes that lenses, it potentially may bring a lot of digital photographers to film. And if they're going to make your camera, you know, if they're going to make the ease of use of those cameras and lenses, you know, then it's going to be incredible. But again, if they release something like this, be prepared to pay a lot of money. Don't expect it to be £300-400, you know. It still would cost probably $1.5 or something like this. But I personally think that Nikon should really get into film photography again. You know, I got this beautiful Nikon S3. I know that some of you asked me on Instagram, what interesting camera is this? And it's a beautiful Nikon rangefinder, Nikon S3. Absolutely fantastic. I think I will need to get one of those. Black ones are quite rare, so they're quite expensive. The silver ones can be had on a reasonable price. Even year 2000 edition, if you feel like you want something a little bit newer than, let's say, 1960s production. But that thing is absolutely beautiful. Sounds nice. The just feedback is so tactile, it's so precise. It's incredible. So I'm like, it's on my shopping list, but you know, I need all the money in the world, which means the Koffee fund is open. Okay, let's see who's next on the list. Seth is suggesting for Tamron lens, check your Tamron firmware. Here you go. So if if your lens allows for a firmware update, I would do that. That's for sure. I know that now I'm thinking the Tamron. I know macro lenses had some issues with Z. I remember that came up when Z6 and Z7 was released. So I don't know if that's changed as well. I assume that's a firmware update as well. On some lenses, obviously, if you can't update the firmware, that means normally you would send it to the manufacturer and then they'll do some updates there. So either physical or whatever software update that needed. Roy says, yeah, Fuji took Nikon D200 and made S5 Pro with a fantastic sensor. Yeah, I agree. Rare cameras nowadays as well. Again, the power of the beautiful CCD sensors, really, really good. It's way before Fuji got into the whole XF, game, with the X Pro 1 series, Who's next? Colin Murphy. Hello, Colin. How are you? 1424 plus case filter system fits the 112mm system. Yeah, so they're different systems available. It was a lot more difficult to adapt to put the filters on the F-mount 1424 lens because the front element was so curved. I mean, I know that Lee Filters made one. I think it was like £300 for the clear filter, so it wasn't cheap. It wasn't cheap. All right, let's see who's next. Hopefully I'm not skipping anyone. If I skipped your question, please just put it again in the comments. So I'm just trying to see if I missed anyone. Okay. By the way, we would for people who listen at the beginning, so that Z7 Mark III, would it be a camera for you if it's a 60 megapixel sensor? Would you consider this camera? Or would you go for Z8 or Z6 Mark III? Because maybe they don't need a Z7 Mark III camera. Who knows? So maybe they should just scrap it. I mean, it's just your feedback on the internet really. But hopefully, if someone sees it higher up, that would be maybe an interesting feedback to them as well. Let's see. Senuk says, I have a Nikon ZF and the screen goes black, no response when I attach an adapted lens on FTZ and resolves when I restart with battery out and in. Anyone face problem? No, Send, I'm afraid not. When the screen doesn't come up, normally, the eye sensor is at fault sometimes. But, if you say if it works with other lenses, that's definitely not an issue. I would, as usual with all the situations like this, clean the contacts on your lens, clean the contacts on the FTZ, clean the contacts on your Nikon ZF as well. So just to get a little, earbud, a little cotton stick, just rub it gently, don't touch the sensor, be sensible. Maybe there's a little grime in between the contacts and that's what's causing an issue. But obviously make sure your camera is up to date as well, and whatever firmware updates that necessary need to be there. Some of the FTZ adapters needed an upgrade at some point as well, so that could be it as well. Have a look. People do like S5 Pro, I can see that. That's cool. That's cool. I like that. Eric is asking, where can one find stats on which Nikon cameras has sold the most? Is there data online? There's no data online. What have been Nikon's all the bestsellers, basically? Yeah. So no one publishes those in units. There's no need for that. We share our stats on the kind of top, places once a year. What was the best-selling camera and the best-selling lens? So top 5. We do this. Map Camera monthly publishes their top-selling cameras, including other brands, not just Nikon. And no one will give you figures. But speaking of figures, Nikon just built their 120 millions interchangeable lens. Isn't that cool? So that news broke a couple of days ago. So just to give you an idea, so according to Nikon rumors, so in October 2011, they built 65 million lenses. So it's 2024 May, and they built 120 million, so almost double. Yeah. So so I assume that 60 million would be around maybe early 2011. So it takes about 13 years to just double the amount of lenses they produce. So I think that's good. I think, to be honest with you, they are selling quite a few Z lenses. Obviously, I think that helped, obviously them switching from f-mount to mirrorless. They could sell a lot more lenses because obviously a lot of people who bought those lenses, who upgraded from DSLRs would have to eventually buy native Z glass. David is asking, how California road trip photos are coming? I got about 12 rolls left to scan, to develop and scan. I am slowly scanning those. I feel like once I'm scanned them all, I'm just going to schedule them and they're going to be published for about a year on Instagram. So I should really start to publish on Instagram. I'm not a social media person. So that's what it is. I really have to force myself to go on social media. So I'd rather chat with you once a week, but they are coming. There's some bangers in there, I can tell you that. I'm just looking at my medium format shots and I'm like, mamma mia, incredible stuff. But, for me, they're probably rubbish to all of you. So, but eventually, I don't think I'm going to show them on the stream, but definitely I'm going to start them to publish on my social media. I am up to lots of little things that I don't talk about on this channel. So if you want to see what I'm up to, definitely follow me on Instagram. Okay, because there's different projects that I am doing right now in parallel to what I'm doing here. So it's to do with the film photography. So have a look at that. All right. David is asking what espresso machine I have at home. La Marzocco Linea Mini. That's the one. Bought it, one of the first one when they were just released. I think they were released about 7-8 years ago. Best... But I think I paid about £2,300 back in the day. So they're about $4 now. So here you go, inflation. But it's the best money I ever spent. It stays there. It's going to stay with me for life. Beautiful coffee machine. Makes fantastic coffee. So can't vouch enough. So that's the thing. But I do like an occasional V60 filter, I like those as well. I take a little hand grinder when I go, travel. So, with me, I like a good pour over. So, but yeah, if you like coffee, definitely it's a slippery slope. Again, it's like cameras. You start with a little gadget, and then you slowly upgrade and you upgrade the coffee group. Like I went to E61 group. Then I went to, I think, hybrid boiler or something like this machine, and then I eventually end up with a Linea Mini. So, but on my coffee lineup, it's an end game really. So so at this point, there's diminishing returns. So it's been with me for about 10 years now, or something like this. So it's like I'm not upgrading any coffee machine anytime soon. So had to service it only twice. I do 3 times, occasional service every 3 years. That's all it is. Okay. The thing about this live stream, we're not just talking cameras and lenses, but any question you want to ask me, definitely put QQQ at the at the front of your questions. Eric Laurie says, what's your view, Con, on the D3X? D3X is fantastic camera and it's got a great sensor, and it used to cost £5,000 for 24 megapixel sensor. So imagine that. Yeah, with 24 megapixel sensor now, you can get D600 for like £300. Yeah, but D3X came out at the time when D3 and D700 existed. Yeah, so 12 megapixel cameras, and then you release 24 megapixel. It's double. It's not double in actual pixels, but when you look at like megapixels, it's like double. Wow, incredible. So had guys buying those for catalog shoots. Like I had a guy who was shooting for John Lewis, another guy was shooting for Argus catalogs. So those are big retailers in the UK. So think like Best Buy, I guess, something like this. So they were using those cameras, and the reason why they would buy those instead of, let's say, D800, which came out later, is the build quality more than anything else. So obviously D3X has this top build and finish akin to their top professional cameras. D800 was a professional camera. The build quality wasn't as superb as this. I mean, we're talking maybe 10-15% difference in terms of build quality. But for those guys who would go through like 200,000 shots a year, that's where for them that would make a lot of difference, if you see what I mean. So for me personally, I bought D800E, and that was half the price. I think I paid about 2.5. and I didn't look back. That's what I can tell you that. So this is my opinion. Fantastic camera. If you could afford it at the time, I'm sure you would enjoy this. Good sensor, good image quality. I went with the cheaper option, so myself. But again, if you're looking at D3X now, it's a bit slowish, but the sensor is very, very good. Jelta Van Gis says, is coffee and camera non-combination as a hobby for me too? Yes, it is. Well, I'm going to tell you this little personal story. Don't really share it publicly, but I had a burnout. I ran a studio, I was a studio photography guy. I ran a studio, for about 3-4 years. And I was doing a lot of work, and I was doing a lot of commissions, and I was doing a lot of photographing new faces for model, for the agencies and things like this. And at some point, I had a burnout where I just completely burned out. I couldn't do photography anymore. I closed my studio down. I didn't shoot for a year. I couldn't take a picture. It would bring, you take the camera in your hand and it brings negative thoughts, So it took me a year to recover from this. But in the meantime, having this addictive personality where I get into something and I just go all in, Koffee was there, and that's kind of was my journey, was my kind of spiritual recovery, so that helped me a lot. I got all the way into coffee, into cooking and all sorts of things, so vinyl and, hi-fi and, so that was it for me. And obviously the good things stay with you. That's the thing. I love my coffee. I enjoy my coffee very much. I've done a roasting course at some point. I've done an espresso course where I went to some roastery, all sorts of things. I was actually, thinking of opening a roastery at some point, coffee roastery. So who knows? Maybe it's still in the books, who knows? Maybe I'll come back to it. So, but yeah, those things helped me to recover. It's easier to talk about this now. I can tell you that, I've started to look at my photography very differently, and I started to enjoy a lot more. That's the thing. And, it's a grind. Professional photography is a grind. For some of you who haven't experienced it, it's a tough gig. It's a tough gig. So, and for you professional photographers who make a living out of it, a huge respect to you. Absolute huge respect. You just don't know, if you haven't done this for living, how hard it is day to day, grind out, get up from bed, talk to difficult customers, push yourself, create more on a scale. So that's the thing. Hobbies photographers, just enjoy the hobby. That's the thing. Get an occasional paid gig, it's nice. If you want to become a professional photographer, you need to have passion for it, and you need to be strong. There's lots of downs, more than ups. That's the thing. But it's rewarding at the end. I can tell you that. Just be strong. All right. Let's see. Let's say David's hobby is mezcal, and he knows a lot about that. And I spoke to him in LA about this. And, I'm telling you, David, if mezcal is the way to go, absolutely. David Liu says, a Voigtlander lens or a specialized espresso grinder? Tough one. I'm on the end game. I got my Malkoenig EK43. Google that. It's a beast. So I'm good, but if you have to choose, depends. You can have 2 coffee grinders with different grinders, conical and flat burrs, yeah? So you may want to have 2 depending on the style of coffee you do. Voigtlander lenses are absolutely stunning. All my Leica mount lenses are Voigtlander. Just as simple as that. I have 40mm Nikon F mount. Amazing lens. Nikon 41.2 is incredible. Voigtlander Z1.2 is incredible. 50 f1 is incredible. I am looking forward to 75 1.5. Answering the previous question, I haven't reviewed that one yet. I have an agreement with the Voigtlander distributor to send me a demonstration lens for a review. So as soon as I have it, I am looking forward to test it. Knowing its performance from Leica mount lens, it should be incredible on that mount. So absolutely. Let's see. Did I miss anyone? Did I see me? Yeah, so Roy says, yeah, there are not many lenses that are as good as Voigtlander. That's the thing. If you haven't tried Voigtlander lens, try it. Voigtlander lenses have been absolutely game changer for me, you know, like in last 2 years. I am glad that Grazo Smith is stocking them. That's the thing. You just got to try. Again, but if you rely on autofocus all the time, that's a different story. That's a different story. All right. Paul Higgins says each coffee means one stop faster shutter speed and more frames per second, you know, on the manual pressing. Arnold Santos says, is asking, I recently got the 1H600mm and noticed that there's a little bit of play in the mount on the Z8 and test my 7200 noticed the same thing. Is an issue? No, generally the longer lenses, the slightly more play you will have. That's just to relieve a little bit the mount of the camera from the stress that the lens would put on it. So that's what it is. The same you'll notice with the teleconverter. These a little play, that's common. It's not an issue whatsoever. So we see it all the time. Thank you very much, Kirill, just to support your coffee addiction. That's true. Don't drink too much coffee though. You know, just enjoy coffee. You know, don't overdo it. Don't overdo it. That's for sure. You know, I haven't got to like espressos, you know, like I do taste espresso, but I like my, you know, my coffee, you know, it's like a whiskey, you know, like you have Americano, but you have long black, which is a much shorter version of that. So, you know, so it just basically means less water with espresso. That's what I normally drink. It's just, you know, black coffee, you know, no sugar, no milk. The best thing you can do for your coffee is to remove sugar and milk, you know, and then you start to taste the coffee. And that's where you'll start to look for a better coffee. That's the thing. Champagne Summer, hello, how are you? I shoot mainly mirrorless, he says, but I still have off-mount glass, as well as two D850s and two D500s. D850s and D500s are both superb cameras, absolutely superb cameras. I think if you're looking at the best cameras that were produced by Nikon, you know, and that are still currently available, yeah, and D500, secondhand only, unfortunately, but it's the best DX camera they made, and D850, which is still currently made, so that can be bought brand new. Eric Clory says, which Nikon cameras cope best with extreme dynamic range, all of them, or the two which reign supreme? To be honest with you, you can't really go wrong with Z8, Z9. You know, technically Z7 has a better dynamic range. You know, would you notice the difference? Probably not. That's the thing. It's the same, you know, but while it's kind of based on, you know, 45 megapixel sensor, technically Z7 has a great dynamic range. Technically Z6 has a better low light performance than Z8 or Z9. Real world comparison, would you notice much difference? Only if you shoot, let's say, you know, extreme dynamic range shots all the time, or if you shoot in low light all the time, I would choose those cameras. Otherwise, Z8 is basically just amazing all around as long as your budget can fit that. So Chase says he's got a Voigtlander 35mm f2 Apo, apochromatic lens. He loves it. It's an incredibly sharp lens. 50 Apo is superb as well. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much, David. Appreciate it. He says, if you ever start a coffee roaster, I'd buy from you. Coffee with corn for the win. Who knows? I'm working on a slightly different project right now. But if that project takes off, who knows, maybe in a few years, I'll get into coffee roastery, brewery, you name it. You know, there's all sorts of hobbies. I like to make things with my hands, you know, so that's the thing. I like to, you know, work with, you know, material, basically, you know, so that's why I guess, you know, digital is nice and dandy, but, you know, I like... You know, when you, my wife likes to come to the shop and she likes to touch everything. You know, she just needs to hold things before. You know, so I'm kind of, you know, I'm not as bad, but you know, I can see where kind of my need to work with, you know, with actual physical goods makes a lot of difference. You know, in terms of what I like to do. How much coffee is too much? Well, it's never too much, but I normally try to limit myself to 2 cups, maybe 3 on a good day when I need to work a lot more. But technically, yeah, 2. I wake up normally in the morning, have 1, and then 1 I do here. But everyone is different. As with everything, it's better not to overdo things. You know, you go to the gym, you know, and you overdo things, then you hurt for 2 weeks. Same with lots of things. Okay. Did I catch up with all the questions? Let's have a look. It's 3:05. Okay. Let's see. Hi, Nigel. He says, just joined the chat. Been out with my new Z6 II. Fantastic. Stonking price on it right now. Here you go. Have a good deal. Z6 II is amazing camera. You know, let's be honest. It's a good price now. It's a good sale. Z6 Mark III comes out. Even if it comes out tomorrow, you know it's not gonna be the same price. You know it's not gonna be the same. It's gonna be higher price. As simple as that. So, you know, don't expect them to just replace that Z6 II or anything. No, Nikon will continue to run the Z6 II as they were doing with Z6 at the time, you know, so that's the thing. Enjoy the camera that you have now. That's my motto, you know. Speaking of which, I really want to get this one for the weekend. I don't know. I'm going to talk to Gray, see if he's going to let me play with this one. This one's collectible. I tend to throw things around, so maybe not. Maybe I should wear gloves with it. Chase is asking, Con, I asked you if you had any experience or thoughts on infrared photography. I'm going to try 780nm, so 65 nm on ZF. Is the male full spectrum conversion? Okay, so I don't have any experience with infrared photography, unfortunately. I think if I want to do this, I will try to do it with film first, personally. But we had Michael Lefriadis who talked about virtual reality photography, the panoramic and virtual reality. He's specialist in that, but he's also a specialist in infrared photography. So we will have this conversation with him at some point, probably in a couple of months. So I'm going to have a live stream with him that we will discuss this, Chase. So obviously, not going to answer your question now, but maybe in a couple of months, you know, who knows? Obviously, it's a bit too late for you, but hopefully you'll still learn some interesting things from there. But he's been doing infrared for ages. Colin Murphy is in chat. He's got infrared camera. Colin, if you have any tips for Chase, definitely please let him know. I think he's got D600 converted to infrared. We should have in the shop somewhere D80 or D90. It's been somewhere. Maybe I should just get it out and try it out for myself. Yeah, so that's that. Kiri was saying, totally agree with MOT over drinking coffee or other liquids. I'm more of a tea person myself, actually. Here you go. The tea game is another level. You know, if you're into teas, this whole thing about brewing temperatures, oh my God, you know, I always thought you just put a bag of tea, you cover it with water, and you leave it for an hour to brew, you know, so because you want to have at least 40% alcohol strength when you drink it, you know. But actually, if you get into tea, this whole brew temperature there, how many minutes you hold it, you know, there's a loose tea, all sorts of things. Like everything, hi-fi, teas, coffees, you know, it's a rabbit hole. There's different layers. There's a tip of iceberg that everyone does, and then you can go deeper and deeper and deeper, you know. So that's that. Coffee shop for photographers, yeah, that could be a cool idea. That could be good, you know. But then everyone's going to sit coffee there and not spend any money, you know? Just kidding. Just kidding. I told you my dream is maybe to start a community darkroom. So where people can come in and, you know, do black and white developments, you know, and prints and color as well. So it's getting closer. The dream is getting closer. I can tell you this. Who knows? It's still far away, but it is closer than it was before. But who knows? Maybe you can, you know, I can add coffee shop in there. Who knows? Maybe have a roast in one thing and beer brewer in another thing, and then we're gonna have another siphon for some gin spirited stuff. You know, who knows? All right. Jonathan says EK43 here too, and ECM Synchronica. Wow, the Linear Mini is on the radar though. Yeah. I mean, they're a better machine than Linear that's available right now. You know, you've got those, those very high sophisticated machines with the tablets on them nowadays. You know, that can see how your extraction profile is going for the coffee. You know, so that's pretty cool. But Linear Minis for me is like Nikon FM3A fully mechanical with batteries out. You know, so it's full. That's all you need, you know. So as long as I can set my temperature and my pressure, that's as much as I want to go. The rest is less good coffee talk, and that's why it's important to buy good coffee and drink it within, let's say, a month's period or so. It's like, you know, let it to degas for 7 days, and then, you know, drink it. Every coffee needs to be dialed in. So, you know, there's, again, speaking of different levels, you know, like photography is the same. You buy one camera, you go, you know, you see where photography journey takes you. I was thinking, why do I need manual focus lenses with autofocus we have now? You know, why do I need to, you know, worry about manual white balance when I'm shooting raw, things like this? But then your attitude changes and you change as a photographer, you know, and you know, you progress, and that's the thing. And it doesn't mean that you progress. There's no universal level of progression, if you see what I mean, on photography. It's just whatever you enjoy doing at this moment in time, you know. Eric is asking, what's your view on the best Nikon cameras ever created? Well, if you're looking at the current cameras, D850 is the best DSLR ever made. I guess for film cameras, for me personally, FM3A, I know that some people say it's F6. I personally think Nikon should release a digital rangefinder, you know, so I do like their rangefinders. Nikon F is a beautiful camera. Nikon F2 Titan is a fantastic camera. F3HP, I love them except this little LCD screen. Someone pointed out that, you know, we said that LCD screen is, the common fault with them is the bleed of the screen or faded of that little LCD screen. People say it's not very common. Well, it's not, but we've seen it over the years happening to the cameras. So, you know, because we send those repairs out, and that's what it is. Let's see, chat is doing well. We're doing okay. Let's see if I've missed anyone here, and I did miss you. I'm very sorry. I'm trying to do my best to get there. Okay, Chris Sanders is asking, do you think Nikon's goal with the ZF is to take some Leica Air market share, capitalize on the film photography trends, bring some Fuji fans over? You answered your question. Yes, all of the above, all of the above. In the reviews that I publish, you know, that we publish, you know, we talk different things, but we also share those kind of thoughts that we think, you know, not profound, but like our takes on this. And my take on this is that you got Leica M11, which is $7.5 grand, yeah, and then you got Nikon ZF, which is what, I think £2,099 at the moment for the body. You know, both are beautiful looking cameras. Z-mount allows you to put all sorts of lenses on it, and if you do find Nikon lenses big, then you can put Leica lenses on it. That's what I do. So I have Wordland the 28-2.8, tiny little lens, looks awkwardly tiny on the Nikon ZF, but you can do things like this with this camera. Z-mount is fantastic for this, and the camera is like looks beautiful. It doesn't feel cheap and nasty. I would personally still prefer them to do just full on brass, really. You know, just release a limited edition. Why not? You know, so I personally think yes. There's definitely people who are coming from Fuji space because we've seen customers calling us about this. We also know some Leica people who bought ZF. So there is a market there. It's not a one-off, in my opinion. I think this line will continue. It's just Nikon will have their modern cameras as their main kind of lineup, and ZF is kind of one-off thing. And they, like, I'm sure we will see ZF2 in 2-3 years down the road. You know, I think it's a given. I don't know if you're going to see another retro camera full frame alongside ZF, if you see what I mean. I don't think so, but otherwise, yeah. I think it's just like the units are sold again. We can't talk figures, but the amount, the quantities that sold, it's pretty astonishing for an old camera. You know, definitely already outsold DF by a margin, huge margin actually. All right, let's see who's next. Let's have a look. DSLRs, camera instead of Canon, Kalari. Yeah, Kalari is doing the conversion for infrared. Yes, they also do conversion to a thinner sensor as well. So those, let's say, Leica lenses would perform slightly better optically. Pompey is asking a question on printing. I don't know what do you mean. So if you could just write a sentence, that would help, you know. So do I print? Yes, I do. Would I want to print more? That's for sure, yes. I do an occasional print. I actually use the Instax printer for a lot of my kind of quick shots, which I put just on the mirror, you know, so like our family shots and, you know, things like this. So so I can always get my, let's say, ZF shot on Z8 shot, you know, and just print it out on this little Instax printer, you know, which is a fun thing to do, you know. Yeah, it takes, I think it's Instax wide, if I'm not mistaken, it takes those cartridges. Here you go. There's a whole discussion on teas. I want to know, again, that's another thing I want to get into. Teas. I do like an occasional tea, you know, that's for sure. Okay, well, Pompey is asking, okay, here we go. Yeah, got your question. What size would you print from 24 megapixel sensor? How different is it from 35 millimeter? You can print as as big as you would find acceptable for yourself. That's my opinion about this, because back in the day when I had my graduation show in Brick Lane as a part of my college, as a part of the group exhibition, I had D200 shots, 10 megapixel D200 DX camera with a 10 megapixel sensor, been blown up to A0 size. Yeah, so what's A0 size in inches? Let's find out together. A0 in inches is 33 by 47 inches size. And they looked absolutely stunning, I can tell you that. So really it depends. We have this, I know some of you who've been in the shop in the last 3-4 years, we have this huge print of Central Park taken from the helicopter in Fisheye Land. So you can actually see the river on both sides of Manhattan. So it was a Hudson River and Manhattan River and East River. Forgive me if I'm wrong. So, you know, that was taken on D300, and that's a huge print. So, you know, again, if you look in those prints from, let's say, 1.5 meters, 2 meters length, you should be absolutely fine, you know, enjoying them. Once you start coming too close to them, you will start to see that they're just maybe not detailed enough once you start to go with, you know, come close to it. So that's what it is. Eric Lohr says Nikon claims D850 is good for up to 200,000 shutter actuation, but have heard people done that. Can D850 go high as 400? Yes, it can. I've seen D3, yeah, I haven't seen it. I asked Nikon Rep the other day, 3-4 years ago, and he said, yeah, there's a D3 in Germany that's done 1.2 or 1.4 million shutter actuations. So, you know, and it was still going strong. They just went for servicing that, you know, so they knew that. So can tell you that my brother spoke to him and he said, look, man, I need to upgrade my D3000. You know, it's been about 12 years. I'm like, oh, D3000 with 18-55 DX. Remember those cameras? So I asked him how many shots he's taken with it in 12 years. 327,000 shots actuations. I've never thought my brother would take that many shots of his kids, you know. That's absolutely incredible. He's not a hobbyist photographer or anything like this. He just bought a camera for his family, you know. That's all it is. So 327 on the entry-level consumer camera, 327K shutter actuation. I think Nikon would say that shutter would be good for about 100K, you know. So he's at 327, still going strong, except the card reader is playing up. You know, so, but you know, but actually the camera still takes pictures, you know, which is very, very strange. So, yeah. David is asking, does Gray take non-Nikon trade-ins? We do. We buy everything right now. So what I can tell you this, Gray's always means that you can trade in any camera, any lens that you want to purchase Nikon equipment. If you are UK based now, we offer collection from you. So what you need to do is get in touch with us. We'll give you some quotes over the phone. Then we can schedule a collection from you. So normally a postman or GPD, you know, drive would come in. You have the box, they'll put a label, they give you a receipt, they take it to us and, you know, bring it here. So we do all sorts of things like this. So if you do want to trade in your non-Nikon equipment, definitely get in touch with us. Absolutely no problem. And obviously you're welcome to trade in your Nikon equipment as well. There are good deals on the new equipment at the moment. So, you know, that's a good thing. We also run 10% off secondhand items at the moment, so keep that in mind as well. So if you want to buy something, go for it, you know. All right, let's see, did I miss anything? Albert says, it's unreasonable to believe that Venus Optics Laowa has surpassed Tamrons and Sigma optically. I noticed a number of like shooters in New York proudly, mostly flaunting their Laowa lenses. Yeah, I want to try Laowa lenses. You know, we actually been approached by Laowa in December to test their new lens. We, unfortunately, it was close to Christmas. Becky was leaving, you all know, so we didn't have time, unfortunately, to do a video on the time they asked us to do, you know, because it was turnaround of 10 days. We couldn't do that. It was just, from shop point of view, Christmas is always hectic in terms of, you know, lots of people coming in buying their Christmas presents, etc. So we haven't had a chance to try a lot of lenses. I've never tried a lot of lenses. They have, they know about us, so they said that next lens they're gonna let us try. So who knows? Maybe we will review a lot of lens at some point. But definitely, I want to learn more about third-party lenses. I actually had a question for you all. Chinese manufacturers, as well as Korean manufacturers of photographic optics, have done and have progressed, I think, and advanced really, really well since even 5 years ago, where we now see autofocus lenses priced at $150, having metal mount and autofocus on them. And autofocus on those lenses actually is really good and not much different from Nikon lenses. Do you think that they've advanced? Well, what's in your opinion? Are you now considering purchasing perhaps a third-party lens that is not Tamron and Sigma? I want to know what you think, because if you asked me 5 years ago, I would say no, because those are toys, and now I can say that, wow, that, the value for money, especially on the budget, is there. So I want to hear your opinion. Maybe I should start a poll, who knows? Would you buy a third-party non-Sigma / Tamron lens for your Nikon camera? Or would you consider instead of buy? Let's say, yeah. Yes or no? Let's just start this poll. I want to hear your opinion, because this is surprising for me personally. This is something that I'm kind of, like my impression of the, third-party manufacturers have changed quite dramatically. And obviously we've been reviewing those lenses now, so we can actually review. I can now attest to myself. So that's that. Okay, guys, let's give it another 3 minutes, and I'm gonna try to answer questions real quick. And then we're gonna wrap up, because we are just a little bit over. I do like to talk to you guys. I think we have brilliant conversation. I hope you enjoy it as well. Because if you're not enjoying it, then it sucks to be me, really. Let's see. So far I have a yes at 70%. So we see that this kind of perception of third-party manufacturing is changing. That's the thing. That's the thing. And I remember when, let's say, Nikon moved their, factory to China for lens manufacturing. Like at the beginning, people say, "Oh, Chinese manufacturing is not going to be as good as Japanese." It is as good. Let's be honest. The quality control is there. Nikon does a good thing. Nigel Sutton says Videography 16 1.8. Again, that's a new release. We haven't tried that yet, but it's a short and stubby wide-angle prime for your Nikon Z-mount lens. Nikon doesn't have one, and I think it's a good contender, and price is pretty good on that as well. Joshua says it was interesting to see even people like Frono's photo talking about how Chinese lenses are worth looking at. Honestly, been using semi-yan Cine lenses on Blackmagic with 0 issues. Yeah, semi-yan and Laowa were kind of the first ones, right? So that was a good time. And then we've got TT Artisan Viltrox now prevalent in the space, 7 Artisans as well. We've got new brands like Astro Hori coming in. I'm sure I forgot someone else. Mikey, haven't tried that. So, but Laowa is now considered to be a premium product. So that's the thing. So before we would say, oh yeah, there's Nikon and then there's Laowa. No, Laowa stuff is superb, according to many people who tried it, according to our customers. I'm if Laowa wants to get in touch with us to try new lenses, definitely, I want that. That's for sure. Thanks, Chase. I appreciate it. I'm glad you tuning up every Friday. It's if you're not tuning up every Friday, then what am I doing here? But I'm here to answer your questions. I hope we're gonna have different conversations every week. I'm happy to answer all the questions you have as usual, and I'm hoping you have a good time. Let's wrap up. I think let's wrap up. It's 25 past. I hope you all gonna have a great weekend. if you're in UK, enjoy your 3 days. Hopefully it's not going to rain. Well, fingers crossed. Hopefully you're going to get out, take some shots. Go take some photographs. Yeah, so enjoy. Let's create more. Let's create more by doing things, you know. So it's always nice to talk about which one is better, but equipment that you already have is there, and it can produce some fantastic results. Thanks so much, Jan. I will answer your question probably next time, so just remind me of this. But we're going to wrap up. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. All the best. Bye-bye.